Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal. The International begin with our top stories. At least 5 persons are reported to have died in Buea this morning. Several cars set ablaze as separatist fighters imposed 14-day lockdown in the English-speaking parts of Cameroon. Munya, Bomaka, Mai 16, Moliko, and Dongo in Buea all shut down with heavy attacks by yet to be identified persons. And we also talk about ever since the lockdown in that part of the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, movements between French and English-speaking regions of the country have been paralyzed, opaying the ambience in Buea and in Douala. And inhabitants of Jovan's neighborhoods in Yaoundé are yet to come to terms with the news of the assassination of Suzanne Zambwe, teacher and militant in the Cameroonians Movement Party. She was killed Wednesday night in her own home by unidentified persons. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. At least 5 persons are reported to have died in Buea's southwest region of Cameroon this morning. Several cars are set ablaze as separatist fighters imposed 14-day lockdown in the English-speaking parts of Cameroon. Munya, Bomaka, Mai 16, Moliko, and Ndongo. Heavy attacks in Buea are all shut down with heavy attacks by yet to identify gunmen. This comes after the Kumba Monday Moyoka and Tiko Wednesday attacks, during which human and material casualties were recorded. More with our reporter Ines Ondwambala.
Buea is under high tension this Thursday. Heavy gunshot is raining in Munya. Vehicles burned to ashes, passengers killed. Presumed separatist fighters have launched an attack at day 4 of the 14-day lockdown. In Bomaka, a bomb blast has been recorded. Mile 15, Mile 16, Moliko and Dungu neighborhoods have been taken hostage by yet to be identified armed men. Buea inhabitants shut their doors. Streets are compared to dormitories. Other public places are deserted. Fear has once again gripped the chief town of the southwest region.
As you heard in that report, separatist fighters announced 2 weeks lockdown in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. The objective was to abort school resumption for the 2023-2024 academic year. Ever since, movements between the French and English-speaking regions of the country have been paralyzed. Fro William took a stock of the situation in Bonoberry. His story.
4 days down the line since the start of the imposed 2-week lockdown by separatist fighters in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, economic activities are on a hold. Here at the Bonaberry bus station, vehicles are grounded.
Everything is down. You can see by yourself. The vehicles are there parked. Maybe in Yaoundé they are parked. In Kumba they are parked. At Kamako they are parked. So there's no movement towards the northwest and the southwest.
Apart from movements, the imposed 2-week lockdown has equally left business persons stranded. Actually, nothing is moving. It's difficult. Normally, I'm presently supposed to be at my vehicle shop, but there is no vehicle there. Everything is dead. We just sit the whole day. Buses no longer leave nor come in, so nothing is moving.
We come and just stay here, as you can see. That's my shop, where I gain my own income. We come in the morning, sleep, and in the evening we go home. Nothing is going on. All vehicles are parked. No one travels. You come in the morning and go home the same way you came.
Faced with these challenges, the population is calling on the government to look for lasting solutions to the Anglophone crisis.
So we are really begging our government to look into this matter seriously, because we are really, really suffering. And to look our children back their home, they are not schooling. We come here to struggle to send them school here. School fees is not also easy here in Douala. So I'm pleading with our government to seriously look into these matters.
And inhabitants of the Jovans, a neighborhood in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, are still to come to terms with the news of the assassination of Suzanne Azambwe, featured militant in the Cameroon Renaissance movement party. She was killed Wednesday night in her own home by unidentified persons. Our reporter Beatrice Angamo and student journalist Chelsea Kowon details the circumstances and atmosphere reigning in her residence. Their story.
The silence here can be compared to that in a graveyard. Faces filled with despair, teary eyes, shock, disappointment, fear, and unanswered questions. The atmosphere that welcomed us at the Zambwe's residence this Thursday. Still visible in the living room, the traces of the macabre scene, which took place at about 10 p.m. on the night of Wednesday, September the 6th. Close family sources say she was attacked, tied up, tissues forced into her mouth before ending her life.
At around 10 p.m., her child called me from my home to tell me, Mama Phenomen, come quickly. We have found Mama tied up and is losing so much blood. It's like she is no more breathing.
According to family members, the elements of the Mendong Gendarmerie Brigade were alerted, who arrived to the scene. The bone of contention remained the real reason behind the assassination and the condition in which her life was taken.
I was very shocked whether it's because she fell or because she was hit on the forehead. We shook her head, blood coming out from her ear and mouth. She was not alone in the house, but nobody heard any noise.
Elle n'était pas seule dans cette concession. Mais les autres personnes n'ont pas suivi les bruits et ni quoi que ce soit.
It should be noted that the deceased was the spouse of Pascal Zambwe, national coordinator in charge of implementation at the CRM party, currently serving a 7-year prison term at Kundenge.
Je pouvais pas imaginer.
I am tired and worn out, realizing the unrepairable circumstance in our family. I could not imagine she was in insecurity, up to the point of coming to kill her at her home.
La ligoté l'a tuée.
Her wig, tissues filled with bloodstain, and a loaf of bread, which she didn't even have the opportunity to enjoy, the witness. Suzanne Zambwe was a teacher by profession, offering her services at the Teachers Training College, Mfu.
And a structure dubbed EPN, situated at the Bona prison, the heart of Cameroon's economic city, Douala, has been demolished, and orders from Littoral's Governor Samuel Dodone Ivaha Diboha caterpillars of the Douala City Council pulled down the building today, September 7, 2023, 3 weeks after a statement announcing the shutdown was published. The building was demolished over the claims that it showed signs of an imminent collapse. All attempts by the owner of the building to stop the administration from proceeding with the demolition reportedly proved futile. Business owners around the building have expressed concerns that the building was in no way a risky one, feeling worried that their business will be affected by the action from the administration. Occupants of the structure refused to react when we sought to have their opinion on the demolition. And the Minister of Public Health has banned the marketing of Naticold, a drug considered unfit for consumption. In a release, Minister Manaoda says the product has neither obtained a marketing authorization nor imports derogation how to recognize a pharmaceutical product that is toxic to health when it is purchased. More with our reporter, Saleh Sharifa.
Despite the measures put in place by the government, unauthorized medications are still circulating in the market. They are either in pharmacies or held by peddlers. These pharmaceutical products are known to cause damaging effects on the patients. To recognize them, it is necessary to pay special attention to their texture and packaging.
First, you have to look at the texture, if it is crumbly or not. And also, you have to look at the expiring date, because sometimes there are medicines that the dates are not good and that causes health problems.
According to pharmacists, drugs need to be stored under certain conditions. Improper storage can render the drugs harmful to human health.
It is advisable to keep the medicines cold, because if these medicines remain in the open air for 1 or 2 hours, it becomes unfit for consumption. And if you consume, you will have side effects.
On the streets in Douala, 3 out of 5 persons are against the buying of drugs on the streets.
It is the look-alike of drugs advised by pharmacists. We know that pharmacies work with well-known companies. Street drug, we don't know where they come from. I know that it is dangerous, but the lack of means to offer myself the medicines from the pharmacy pushes me to the street vendors.
Naticold is a toxic pharmaceutical product that circulates in the form of syrup, tablets, and injections. The warning comes just after the alert of July 19, 2023 from the World Health Organization on the same drug.
And with about $56 billion committed by the U.S. government, is calling on Cameroon to increase our own funding for a joint sustainable response in the fight against HIV and AIDS. The U.S. government aids a coordinator and a senior bureau official of security and diplomacy, Ambassador Dr. John Kemasan, was speaking during a working session today at the Ministry of Public Health at the Public Health Emergency Center in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Beatrice Ngamo completes that story.
HIV pandemic has been on for 40 years. Its fight has been at the center of the U.S. President's emergency plan for AIDS relief, dubbed PEPFAR, with the aim of reducing HIV/AIDS infection and providing treatment to persons living with HIV. Cameroon is a U.S. Global Health Agenda beneficiary.
Close to 12 years, we've invested close to 351 million in Cameroon.
Important for the visiting U.S. Global AIDS Coordinator and Senior Bureau Official of Global Health, Security and Diplomacy, Ambassador John Kengasong, to get an in-depth knowledge of where Cameroon is and is heading.
We're also very convinced that with your continuous leadership, we will consolidate those results and focus our efforts in the key areas, strategic areas where we see the epidemic growing, especially amongst young people, adolescent girls and young women.
That is why they are engaging the government for sustained financing.
The Country Operational Plan 2023, we committed about $56 billion. The government of Cameroon increased its own funding so that we can jointly sustain the response.
5 pillars of the U.S. Global Health Strategy is on knowing the gaps and closing the gaps. The exchange left the Health Emergency Center to the Faculty of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences of the University of Yaoundé 1. The American of Cameroonian origin had a good exchange with the students and lecturers on the theme, Putting an End to HIV by 2030, the youth's counts. Ambassador Dr. John Kengasong is a top official of the U.S. government to visit Cameroon after Tibor Nagy in 2019.
And all classes have resumed for the 2023-2024 academic year. School managements have undertaken to improve security of their institutions to prevent kidnappings and unforeseen circumstances. Gladys Ambo-Dibang visited some schools in the Douala municipality to check on their security measures put in place to beef up security in their schools. More in the following story.
Ensuring the safety of their children to and from school is primordial to several parents.
I think that the school is well organized with the administration, with the security of the children, because if you're to be given these children, you need to be the parents, okay? If, for example, you're like myself, I'm the dad, I come pick the kids up. If I'm to send someone, I need to call the head teacher, or I need to call the teacher of the kids to let them know somebody's coming. Nobody cannot come and take the kids without me giving my consent.
The phenomenon of kidnapping of school children represents one of the major threats and crises in the education sector in this private nursery and primary school in Mambanda, Bonaberi, Douala. For example, management has adopted strategies to ensure their pupils are safe to and from school.
If you are sending somebody to come and collect your child, you send the person with the badge. When you show the badge, we now know that this is the parent or the guardian of the child. That's first security. And then secondly, we have a security guide who is taking care of the school to make sure that he knows all the parents of the children. If you are sending somebody to come and collect your child, you notify us either on phone call and you give the name of the person.
But this is not always the case in some schools where the safety of the pupils is the sole responsibility of the parents, a situation which this head teacher says is a real concern.
You know that there are many things happening outside now. Kidnappers are there who can come and collect a child from school, and the problem will fall on the authority of the school as I'm here now.
The rate of child kidnappings for ransom is alarming in recent times in Cameroon, where kidnappers are ready to kill should families fail to comply. As classes have resumed for the 2023-2024 academic year, schools are therefore intensifying security to preempt such happenings.
The school year has begun, and the means of transportation of pupils and students is a major concern of parents at this point in time. While parents decide to accompany their offspring to school, others have opted for the school bus. More with our reporter, Williams Fru.
Be it small, big, new or old, pupils and students are often seen in school buses like this one, squeezed and taken to school or back home. Transporting them to school through the school bus is seen as a safe and cost-effective means of transportation of pupils and students for some parents.
The bus is cheaper and permits me to take care of myself, as it comes early and take the child, and also permits the child to get to school early.
This opinion is not shared by all parents, as some see many disadvantages, among which are overcrowding, delays, detours, and early wake-up calls.
Personally, I don't like school buses because of the early waking up constraints, and sometimes children go for distance such that before arriving school, they are already exhausted. That's why I prefer taking them to school myself.
Whether on foot, by motorcycle, or by bus, the most important is for students and pupils to arrive school on time.
And out of Cameroon, General Brice Oligui Nguema, President of Transition, this September 7, 2023, appointed Raymond Dong Sima as a Prime Minister of Transition. Raymond Dong is an economist and opponent of President Ali Bongo, overthrown by the military a week ago. In a decree read on state television, Raymond Dong Sima, 68, had been Prime Minister of Ali Bongo from 2012 to 2014. but we'll come back to that in our subsequent editions of newscasts. And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal, the International. Take a round of applause, same time tomorrow. Good night.